environment. And there was, and there is still, this is a place where you have a society that welcomes you. We cannot take that for granted. There was a welcoming environment. I sent my application in. I came like 4 days in the country. That's when I sent in my application to do my master's. And I got a response after 3 months saying that you have not been admitted, basically a rejection. So I wrote back to them and I said, well, I understand, but I need to understand why so that I can address that. So I've never taken it no, so I went back. I've not taken no as an answer until people need to get to know you. So I have written back and I said I need to meet with an advisor and I need to understand why. And again, one of the key reasons was that I did not provide references that were provided substantively what they needed, so I need to work on that. So I think the first thing is that an environment that welcomes people is a key. And the second piece of building an inclusive society is that supporting programs and policies. And these are social infrastructures that exist within given a society. I'll speak this from the perspective of my story is basically, I use it as some of the things that refugees, immigrants, people who are new to the country go through. So my wife, before I came, when we came, both of us went back to school, as I said, within my first 1 year I went doing my master's. So we lived in, because we couldn't pay the rent, like with 3 children. So we lived in the social housings, which was provided then by Capital Region Housing, now it's called Savina. So those are the social infrastructures that needs to be in place and programs. The province then had programs that will send, like you are either at work or you are in school. That was the principle that was in place. Which means that if you're not at work, we shouldn't be wasting your time. You should be reskilling and getting different skills so that you can get to work. So one of the key programs that existed was Foundational Learning Program. I don't know if some of you remember. It was a program that provides up to 1 year, whether it is upgrading or a skills program that pays at the same time your cost of living during that period of 1 year, then after that you can get a job. Which used to fund up to 12,000 spots per year, which doesn't have, of course the population of the city was way lower than it is now. 12,000 spots, you will expect this time we would be having like at least 24,000 spots, but that has got reduced. We only got now, I think, about 5,000 spots, which doesn't cover the need that exists. So those are policies that impact an environment that will enable, as a newcomer, to reach their potentials. So those policies are crucial and important. There is an access to socio-economic participation and this is another challenge that becomes difficult. So how do you, if I want to start a business, you wouldn't be able to because of you don't have, again, as I said before, your credit history is in the society where you lived, but it doesn't exist here. It becomes very challenging. It was one of the work that we did, I think some of you may have heard the organization called FACE, Federation of African Canadian Economics. I was one of the co-founders of the organization, and the argument that we made at the time was making sure that people get access to capital. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to build a socio-economic participation if some of those credit histories that is not captured are a barrier because of, how do I put it? Character is a key from cultures where we come from than the credit, because of your character informs whether you're credible or not. So how do you build a system that enables so that people are assessed based on their character, and there are some sort of communities that can vouch for that so that they can get the capital that they need so that for their socioeconomic participation. And then the other part is there is a sense of belonging. I think that is a key for building an inclusive society. If you don't feel you belong here, you won't invest. An investment starts even raising a children, building here, making it your home. If you don't feel you belong, it becomes a problem. And nowadays, this is where I try to avoid politics, but this is where politics come in. And nowadays, it's becoming very, very challenging because there is quite a lot of sentiments that is anti-immigration, that is a pushback, that is based on hate, that creates or jeopardizes the sense of belonging that people needed to feel. And it's not something that you can tell, you belong here, no. I have to feel I belong here. It doesn't matter what you tell me. It doesn't matter your speeches. I have to feel that I belong here. And I think in an era of Donald Trump, it's completely a different world, where that sense of belonging is becoming quite a challenge. And sometimes it goes into politics and it becomes very, very, very difficult. A good example is that in the province, we will be having a referendum end of this year about September 19th. And it has 5 questions on immigration. It's 10 questions. People talk about the separation one, but you won't hear people talk about the 5 questions that talk about the immigration. That's a challenge. Some of the questions include which immigrant gets services. And these services is not like what I will say, the next level of services. I'm talking about the basic ones. Seeing a doctor, sending your children to school, some of those things. Who can do that and who cannot? Somebody was talking, was it Chidi that was saying that sanctuary schools, that is going to become very, very impossible in the era that we are going to. So we need to, this country, we are here because of the people ahead of us built it. It's not something that we built as immigrants. It's something that we benefited from because of people who came here or who were born here or who were ahead before us came here to create, as I was saying, an welcoming environment. And that's how we ended up coming here. So we need to defend that and work on making sure that it stays a welcoming environment. And then the final one is that there are opportunities for leadership. I never thought when I was learning that I would be in the legislature. It wasn't part of my plan. But it is because of, I saw that there is a room, and I saw that there is a support in terms of leadership and participation. This next slide. So the practical tools for inclusion, that's something that I was asked, but I honestly don't believe that there are practical tools. I believe there are principles, but no practical tools that you can solve what anyone needs. As the pastor was talking about, because it depends where they come from, what they have, the pre-migration issues that they have had, and all of those things. And it's not, you don't have a tool that can fix everything that exists. But I think there needs to be there are some principles that will get, the principles of dignity, the principles of equality, the principles of understanding this person and what they are going through, the principles of committing to that they are solution part of it, the principles of believing that they bring a strength, the principle of they are not coming here with a deficit, but they are coming here with a strength. However, there is some configuration of what's needed from this perspective and what is the need that they have. So I think those are some of the principles that we need to keep in mind, and we need to create and build and share. I think these slides you'll be able to share that because of there is no time. In conclusion, what I will say is that we have responsibilities. The responsibilities that we have is that we need to be contributing, building a society where a sense of belonging is strengthened. And I think that is the key. I will conclude. I'm a person of faith. I'm a practicing Muslim. One of the teachings from Islam is when the Prophet Muhammad was persecuted by the people in Mecca, he asked his followers to go what is now known as Africa. It was called Habasha. There was a king called Najashi. So 13 of his followers, he told them that to flee from here and go to Najashi. He was a Christian. And he said, you go there because he is a king where justice is done and you will not be marginalized. You will be safe around him. And that's how they fled to Najashi. So the point I'm trying to make is, in my conclusion is, we all came here because of Canada is a country where there is justice, that you will not be marginalized, and there is a charter of rights that we all have to observe, including the government. So we have the obligation to make sure that it stays that in our own capacity and within our own voices. And that is the only way, and that's the tool that will enable us to build an inclusive society. So I had some interactive questions to ask, similar to the pastor, but I won't do that. I will leave it here. If you have any questions, happy to respond.